Look at that. Curiously, Pluto, of course, isn't considered to be a planet in our solar system any longer. It's been demoted to a dwarf planet. And even more curious, Charon, one of its moons, its largest moon, which is, I know it doesn't look like it, but it is actually relatively large in the solar system for the moon of a particular planet. It's actually large enough to be considered a dwarf planet of its own, or so I read somewhere. But for the fact that it cannot be, did you know that in order to be considered a planet rather than a moon, because there are many moons in our solar system, Enceladus, for example, Enceladus, Titan, very much so, particularly the moons of Saturn and Jupiter, Callisto and Ganymede there. Europa, obviously, very, very important. Io, we'll be taking a look at them today. Some of them are large enough to be planets in their own right, but they are not, because you need to orbit the Sun in order to be considered a planet. So Charon orbits Pluto, and therefore it's a moon. Our moon is technically large enough to be a planet, but it orbits us and not the Sun. The curious case of Pluto, and the reason it's not a planet but a dwarf planet, is it does orbit the Sun, but it also orbits Charon as it orbits the Sun. Their movement is in rhythm with one another, and that's why it's not technically a planet. Not because it's small compared to the other planets, but because it's intrinsically linked with Charon because of this size, the relative size of that moon. And that affects its orbit, and it's not fully orbiting the Sun in the way that all the other planets are, and therefore was demoted. And so yeah, it goes at a dwarf planet. Welcome to today's video. This is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? So we're going to take a look at some of the aspects of our fascinating solar system. I've done a previous video on the solar system before, and outside of the solar system as well, space in general, using this book, which is by my favourite, absolute favourite, Dorling Kindersley. It's called The Mysteries of the Universe. Aside from loving maps and football, I'm super into space. Listening a little bit of space today. So Pluto has 5 moons. Charon is the largest, but Nix, Kuiper, Styx and Hydra are other bodies that go around it. As you can see, they're not cylindrical. And it says in 1930, American astronomer Clyde Tombaugh was searching through photographs of the night sky, looking for objects hiding in the outer solar system. In one set of pictures, he discovered a dot of light moving against the stars. The tiny speck was the world in the Kuiper belt, or the Kuiper belt, we now call Pluto. I remember I did a school assembly when I was about 10 years old, and I was Pluto. So when they demoted it, I was very, very upset. But new discoveries revealed there were other similar icy worlds living in this distant part of our solar system. Yeah, there are very many of them. And the Kuiper belt, if you're not sure what that is this structure. So we have the Sun in the middle of our solar system. We have the planets, the inner planets, the terrestrial planets going around the Sun. Then there's an asteroid belt, and then you have the gas giants, and then you have this Kuiper belt which extends far and wide. The Kuiper belt lies beyond the orbit of Neptune. It's mostly ice and also rock, and it's where the majority of our asteroids come from. They get loose and then get caught in the sun's orbit and come into the solar system. Often Jupiter messes around with them as well. It says if you travel beyond Neptune, you'll eventually reach a gigantic donut-shaped region called the Kuiper belt. I believe it goes on for, like, maybe it's not. I don't know if it's like an entire light year to get out of it, but it's really huge. It contains thousands of small frozen objects left over from the solar system's early history and is home to Pluto and 3 other dwarf planets, Haumea, Eris, and Makemake. Scientists are still piecing together the story of this faraway region. It seems that some of its objects were flung here long ago by the gravity of Neptune and the other gas giants. The Kuiper belt is so far from Earth that astronomers use powerful telescopes to study it. Recently, though, a mission called New Horizons explored this region. After many years of travelling, the probe was able to fly past some of the Kuiper belt's icy treasures. It would take years and years to get there, like almost an entire lifetime. So much to look at in this book. I'm just going to focus on maybe moons today, and we can take a look at some of the other interesting things if you enjoy this video in a second part. Because the reason I'm interested in moons is basically because I think that's probably the most likely area we're going to find life in our solar system other than on our planet. Earthshine. The light of Earthshine takes about 1.3 seconds to travel from our planet to the moon. And I mentioned this previously, but the moon's not very close to Earth, curiously, and it is moving away from us, and will at some point, not in our lifetime, in millions and millions, maybe billions of years, float away into space, which will actually probably cause all life on the planet to die, because it controls our water, and without it, all of the water on the planet would rush to whichever side of the planet is facing the sun. The moon controls that, and so we would have basically tsunamis every day, or twice a day. No, once a day. So yeah, apart from on our moon, which obviously there's no life at all, then the likelihood of us finding life in the galaxy, sorry, not the galaxy, in our solar system is basically very likely to be on one of the moons. So that's Jupiter and the rings of ice. Absolutely fascinating when I found out about them. And Saturn's, I think Neptune, possibly Uranus has them as well, but they're slightly less visible. Okay, Titan, we'll start here. The largest sea on Titan, Kraken Mare, is named after a mythical sea monster. So Titan is Saturn's largest moon. It has a thick atmosphere. So the moon doesn't have an atmosphere, almost has no atmosphere. Mars has a very thin atmosphere. So the thick atmosphere on Titan has lots of advantages and can definitely be a case to suggest that life could exist there. It's made mostly of nitrogen rather than oxygen, so it's not good for us, which hides its surface from view. Below the haze lies a frozen landscape, of course it's very cold, of hills, valleys and wide open plains. If it were closer to the sun, obviously it would be a bit warmer, although with a thick atmosphere, Venus suffered from having such a thick atmosphere. Now it's so toxic and hot, it traps in the air, it drops in the heat, because Venus's day is longer than its year, so it's so slow, and it actually goes against the direction of all the other planets. It goes the opposite way, and and spins that way. And as a result, because it's facing the sun for so long on one side of it, it's so hot, it doesn't have time to cool down, as well as having so many greenhouse gases that it just has heated up ridiculously over the years and can't let it escape into the atmosphere, from the atmosphere into space. On Earth, ethane and methane are usually found in the form of gas, but on Titan the temperatures are so low that these chemicals form a liquid on the surface and pool into enormous lakes. This liquid is probably responsible for carving out the winding features that look like river channels. And this liquid, which was spotted by the Cassini spacecraft in 2005, the Huygens probe landed on Titan and sent back pictures of pebbles and ice scattered across its surface. Titan's surface is rippled with ridges and valleys. I can never remember, is it Enceladus or Enceladus? I think I've heard it pronounced both ways. I'm going to say Enceladus for today's video. Enceladus is a white world that looks as if a troop of giant rollerbladers has danced all over it. But it's not just a pretty moon. Conditions on Enceladus have made scientists very excited as they try to work out whether life could exist anywhere else in the solar system. Scientists believe that under the moon's wrinkly surface, it's a beautiful word for it, wrinkly, of ice, there is an ocean of liquid water. Of course, liquid water doesn't exist as we know, as we haven't confirmed it exists on any other body in our solar system apart from the Earth. So that's very exciting because it is an absolute prerequisite for life, from what our fundamental knowledge is. We're not aware that life is possible without water, or in carbon life forms anyway, at the very least. Its seafloor may even be home to hydrothermal vents, where warm water swirls through the rocks. But that's not even the most exciting thing about this distant little moon. As the Cassini spacecraft swooped around Saturn, it spotted huge fountains of ice sea material shooting out of giant fissures in Enceladus's frozen crust. Could these discoveries mean this moon could support life? We don't know, and we may have to travel there to find out. The reason it says this, and this is why we're excited, hydrothermal vents, where warm water swirls through the rocks. These, why would it be warm? Well, for similar reasons to why we have this, the cracks and everything, is because it's travelling around Jupiter. It's Jupiter's moon, isn't it? Or Saturn, maybe? I've forgotten already. Saturn. And due to the pressures that Saturn's size and its pulling against to go towards the sun and then coming back to Saturn, that movement creates heat. And it's a case that it could have therefore a very warm core, and then some of that comes up through vents. And we know that where we have such vents on Earth, they are teeming with life on the ocean floor. We're talking about crabs and lobsters and fish and lots of other sea creatures that come around that area because of the warmth that is there. And you've got a lot of the prerequisites for life: water, warmth, sometimes oxygen, but also carbon dioxide, I think, as well, which is certain life forms don't need all of the same things. It's interesting. I don't actually remember this moon, Iapetus, which travels around Saturn at a distance of over 3.5 million kilometres. That's more than 9 times the distance between the Earth and the Moon, which I said was already so large. To finish that sentence, our Moon is actually so far from the Earth that you can fit every single planet in our solar system in between us and the Moon, including both Saturn and Jupiter, side by side. Obviously, it would never happen, they'd all crash into each other, but if you actually measured the diameter of each, you can fit each one in between the Earth and the Moon. So this is 9 times further away from Saturn. Look at that. It looks like some sort of nut, doesn't it? This is the ridge. What do you think could have caused the dark splodges? I love that word, splodges, all over the surface of this Saturnian moon. Is that how you pronounce it? Saturnian, known as Iapetus. If you said they were splats of mud, you're not far from the truth. Scientists think that this dusty material that has fallen onto Iapetus after being blasted off another moon orbiting Saturn called Phoebe. Can you see the other strange feature of this moon? Around the middle of Iapetus, you may spot the unusual ridge that runs part of the way around its equator. It's a mystery how this row of mountains came about. It could have popped up if the moon squished together after it formed, or if Iapetus was spinning around really fast at some point. It may even be the result of space rocks collecting on the surface. So Uranus, Aria, again there's several ways of pronouncing this, Oberon, Titania, Umbriel, Miranda and Ariel, and it has a ring as well. Oh yeah, and the weird thing about, as you probably spotted, this is the equator, so it goes from north to south. That's the top and that's the bottom. It's literally on its side. And it says, it is a ring system and a collection of small moons, but there's something that makes it a bit different from the other planets. Its axis is tilted, so it orbits the sun on its side. One possible reason for this is that long ago the planet was smashed into by another world. It's mostly composed of hydrogen, helium and methane, which gives it its blue colour, I believe. No one knows for certain what lies under its thick blanket of clouds, but it could be a core of ice and rock. Neptune is similar. Let's focus on the moons. So this is Triton. I love how most of the moons have got, ancient Greek and Latin names. So this is Triton. Triton is named after the Greek god of the sea, who was thought to calm stormy waters using his conch shell. This is the southern hemisphere of Triton. Where did Neptune's largest moon, Triton, come from? That might seem to be a strange question, but it's one that astronomers have been thinking about for a long time. That's because some scientists believe that Triton may have once floated freely through the outer solar system before being captured by Neptune's gravity. Like many of the objects in the distant reaches of our planetary neighbourhood, Triton is a cold, icy world. Look closely and you'll see dark smudges. In places, it's thought that these are streaks left by powerful geysers shooting up plumes of nitrogen from under the moon's frozen surface. And there we are, the Kuiper belt and Pluto back to where we were. The mountains and plains of Pluto can be seen here in extraordinary detail. I think this is an actual photograph. Oh, this is cool. Arakoth probably got its shape when two icy objects slowly collided and squished together. The ancient snowman. This peculiar looking object known as Arakoth lives in the outer solar system inside the Kuiper belt. Though it might not look it, it's actually one of the most exciting and important celestial objects that humans have ever visited with a space probe. What makes it so interesting is its great age. It's roughly 4.5 billion years old, and how well preserved it is after billions of years floating in the depths of space. It has survived untouched for all that time, so scientists hope studying it will tell us about how our planetary family formed. Because it's a little bit of a misnomer that I mean, all illustrations show the Kuiper belt like this sort of wall of ice and rock. But guys, this is space. Things are ginormous, different distances from one another. This would look like you can't get through, like it's a barrier. But the objects aren't even slightly close to one another. This is just a rendition that our puny brains can comprehend, but actually they're so spread out that it's you probably wouldn't even notice that you're travelling through it at times. The other very curious thing that I learned and I saw a video about it recently, was that our solar system is almost completely flat. So this rendition here makes it look like it's on a tilt, but that's not the case. All of the planets are actually completely flat on their orbit. They're not like going up. I mean, space is 3D, right? You'd think, well, they can go that way and they can go that way around the sun and they can go this way. No, they are literally in a line. There are several, I mean like literally 3 or 4 objects, and they're mostly asteroids that travel below and above this plane. But otherwise, our solar system is flat. I mean, the principal reason for that is due to gravity. The gravity of ourselves pulling against one another, and the gravity from the sun pulling everything together. Jupiter keeping it intact, but also the gravity, remember, of the super black hole that's in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy that our sun is orbiting around, because we're not statically stuck in the sky orbiting the sun. So the moon orbits Earth, Earth orbits the sun, and the sun is orbiting a super black hole in the middle of the Milky Way. And we're moving through space as we do this. I saw a very, very wonderful rendition of this, where it's basically like this. This is the Earth, so it's not going around like this as we would perceive it. It's actually, there's the sun moving. So it's going around the sun, which is going around the black hole. And so the sun is moving like this. And therefore we are actually kind of going like that, moving forwards and backwards through space. And then our little moon is going around us. So it's more like one of those Etch-a-Sketches, you know what I mean? Rather than we're not just going around the same space forever and ever. We're actually moving, all of us, together through space. And at some point, we are heading for a collision course with our neighbours, because we will bash into one another, because they are on a similar course, but it'll be like billions of years, so don't panic. Pay your bills. Okay, I'm going to finish there, and if you're interested, we can take a little look at this book again. Particularly interested in learning about exoplanets, and I want to look at Betelgeuse, Proxima Centauri, which is quite an exciting neighbouring star in the Milky Way. Oh, we can talk about, I can't pronounce it, Oumuamua as well. It's quite fun, and the Oort cloud. Lots to do. Thanks so much. I know this is slightly outside of the usual scope for this channel, so it is taking a tiny risk, but I know there's a small percentage of the audience that do also find this super interesting, and it sort of lends itself to geography a little bit. So we do cross over with a little bit of history and geography on this channel, so I don't think that, geography of space is too far out of our usual sort of niche. If you did enjoy it, then let me know in a little comment, please. Just encourage me to do this again, because I really, really, really am interested in this topic, and I have a lot to say about it. And give the video a little like while you're at it, so the algorithm knows that this video isn't a complete failure. I know it's going to have fewer views than my usual videos, but that's absolutely fine. I saw this book and I thought I wanted to share it with you. That is the part of my audience that also likes space and the solar system and the stars. Don't forget to join me on Patreon if you want early access to videos and a couple of extra videos every month, and to chat to me directly on there. And do not forget to subscribe. In a second, if it's not there already, I'll put another video here, which is the previous video I did about a year ago on space. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye 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 bye.